2020 January. So it's been 5 years now. And in Singapore, there's now, since October 2024, about 1,117 VCCs that's been incorporated. And more than 2,000 sub-funds have been sort of registered under it also. So the sole object of the VCC is really to be a collective investment scheme, and it's not supposed to be just a company, a holding company in some sense of the word. So that's why you would see that it's actually incorporated under the Variable Capital Companies Act rather than the Companies Act itself. As to what are the differences, obviously there are some overlaps, but the finer differences is a matter of legal structuring to make sure that it actually fulfills the requirements and characteristics of a collective investment scheme. Now, some similarities that it shares with a general, like, private limited company is that it's got shareholders, it's got a board of directors, and it's also, there's also a possibility for foreign corporate funds to be re-domiciled as a VCC in Singapore. But okay, so there are some key differences here. So a VCC can be set up as a standalone VCC or an umbrella VCC with 2 or more sub-funds. Legislatively, 2 or more sub-funds are required, but in practice, in fact, the Accounting and Corporate Regulatory Authority does allow for 1 sub-fund to be just registered. And then it depends on, how the VCC is growing and how the fund manager would like to just add on to it various new sub-funds as it's being created along the way. One of the key differences is that while a private limited company obviously operates on its own and it's got the directors and it's got the shareholders, but for a VCC, it must be managed by a licensed Singapore fund manager. So for a foreign fund manager to want to use a VCC structure, it would very much have to then either work with a local fund manager or find a way to establish itself as a licensed fund manager in Singapore. One of the directors of a VCC must be ordinarily resident in Singapore, and also at least 1 director who is a qualified representative or director of the fund manager would need to be appointed to the board of the VCC. Now, the second person, the director who is a qualified representative or director of the fund manager, can also be the single resident director in Singapore. So if that's the case, the minimum we require is really just 1 individual. But if you're the authorized scheme, which is an authorized VCC scheme, which is then offered to retail public, then the requirements become a little bit more. You'll need 3 directors, 1 of whom must be independent from all parties.